Hi guys, so Nigel Farage is still complaining about the Brexit he never got. This time it's about immigration, something that he helped weaponize in order to convince both racists that leaving the EU would mean fewer foreign faces at the local supermarket or their streets, but also he sold the idea that Brexit would end foreign workers taking British jobs. Well, now he's suggesting that Prime Minister Boris Johnson never truly cared about immigration, and that the British people were in some way conned by Brexiteers, not by Nigel, of course, but by others who campaigned to leave. Have a listen to this.
One of the big reasons that Brexit happened and the global establishment was so shocked was over immigration. And it wasn't illegal immigration. It wasn't people crossing the English Channel in dinghies, because that didn't even start, well, at least not that we knew of, until 2018. Prior to that, people were coming in lorries illegally, but it wasn't getting that much coverage.
Now, something very interesting about Farage is that he will tell lies, but also tell the truth from time to time. And I think that's why he's very good at manipulating people. He tells the truth, but he also tells lies, and sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference. And he's telling the truth here, yes. So up until 2018, most of the people who were arriving in the UK via unsafe routes were travelling on trucks, the Eurotunnel, ferries. What happened was in 2018, around that period, the British government and the French worked together to put pressure on this type of trade, this people smuggling. There was a lot of political pressure, and truck haulage companies started to see fines being imposed upon them, and they reacted with, we need to do something about this. We need support from the police in France. We need support from the British government. And there was a massive crackdown on this. But what it did was it shifted the smuggling to the sea. So in 2018, we started to see more and more people travel. So people wanted to get into the UK. They started at the beginning trying to get into the UK via via trucks or underneath trailers, for example, and then it shifted to the sea where we saw the dinghies. So in a sense, yes, he's correct here.
No, the Brexit vote was about legal immigration. It was about control. It was about reducing numbers. And the interesting thing is, Boris Johnson never really, ever believed in that at all. And we're now beginning to see that in government, because some of the figures that are coming out for 2021 are really pretty extraordinary. 430,000 student visas issued in 2021, and a huge number of them to Chinese students, vast increase in the number of students from Nigeria and elsewhere. And of course, these students, if they start to work, can stay. So it isn't just coming here to study. We've also seen work visas running at over 250,000, and family visas massively up too. Excuse me. We don't yet know the final figures for net migration in 2021, but what we do know is we've opened the door to a very large number of people from Hong Kong. We've opened the door to a significant number of people from Afghanistan. We've opened the door, in the end, once we get through the red tape, to large numbers of people from Ukraine.
Okay, but this is a consequence of Brexit. You used to be able to rely on workers, seasonal workers, people to work on building sites, for example, people working in picking fruit, vegetables, packing, processing. All of this, you used to rely on workers from the EU. Well, then you close that off. But the economy still needs to operate. Farms need to grow their vegetables and have those vegetables picked. Meat processing plants need workers. So we saw with the ferries, for example. If you don't have access to EU workers, then you're going to find workers from somewhere else. That's a consequence of Brexit. Now, I know Farage and others tried to convince the people back in 2016 to vote for Brexit because it would mean fewer foreign faces in your local supermarket or few foreign faces on the street. But that was about Europeans. Leaving the EU would stop that. But of course, if you want your economy to operate, if you want your NHS to have its staff, then you're going to have to bring people in from abroad.
But actually, the points-based system the government has put in place has lowered standards to such a degree that we're frankly now open to the world. And I think we're very likely in 21 or 22 to see record numbers of people coming to settle in this country.
And this is all, once again, scaremongering. We don't want foreigners. Remember what you voted for back in 2016, to keep the foreigners out. Nigel Farage doesn't care about the economy. Obviously, he wouldn't have campaigned for Brexit if he did, from an economic point of view, but also from an employment point of view. The UK needs workers. Look, I know the response from Brexiteers we'll just hire people from the UK. British citizens will hire those to do these jobs. But we have seen numerous examples of that failing. A farm put out a request for 50,000 workers. At the end, about 10 people turned up. And after that, I think it was about 5 people were able to stay on. Why? Why is that? Because the work is difficult. The work is badly paid, long hours. In many cases, it's far from your home, so you may have to stay on site there. This was work done by generally Eastern Europeans. They would come, from poorer countries. They would come to Britain, make a significant amount of money, and trained workers, because we generally think picking fruit is just unskilled labor, unskilled activities. But it actually requires a skill to be able to do it efficiently, to create a massive amount of stock, to compile a lot of stock in order to earn a significant amount of money. And then they would return back to their country and have enough money to live off for a while. You can't do that in Britain because the pay is too low. So this is a consequence of closing that channel off, closing off that tap.
It is a huge change. And to add to all of that, Boris Johnson was in India last week, and he said, in terms of putting a trade deal together, we have a massive shortage in the UK. We're short to the tune of hundreds of thousands in our economy. And yes, we're short of people with IT skills. We're short of people with all sorts of trades and skills, as we seem to encourage sending off hundreds of thousands of young people every year to get degrees in social sciences.
Who's encouraging them? So there was a time, look, this is where he gets a bit slippery. He's telling something that on the surface is not true. But if you dig a little bit deeper, there is a little nugget of truth to this. So in the past, we used to convince people, look, you should go and become a doctor, you should become an engineer, you should become a professor, you should study for a degree, because a degree will mean a secure job. A degree will mean a high level of income, a decent income. But our economy has completely changed since then, and we've seen how, for example, if you're a plasterer or an electrician or a builder or a plumber, you're going to earn a significant amount of money. But we don't have enough of those. There aren't enough of those in many European countries, including Britain. So we have to bring people in from abroad because they already have those skills. It takes time to train these people up. And maybe the education system is not designed to train these people up. The education system focuses on professions. I don't buy for a moment that he's talking about social sciences. I'm talking about STEM fields, for example. But once again, Farage is trying to sell people the idea that we don't need to hire people, we don't need to bring people in from abroad. We have all we need here. We just need to train them up. But in many cases, there aren't enough people to be trained up. There isn't investment in that training, and many of the people who are trained to do the jobs are not in the location where the jobs are. That's why many farms, meat processing plants, companies have to bring people in from abroad. So it seems that Farage is back selling the immigration issue once again when it comes to fighting the Tories. Brexit has not been delivered, or Brexit has failed because it wasn't the right type of Brexit. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.